Hello, my name is Cody. I'm going to be here to just show you guys a quick down and dirty how to set up a capture file. I won't get too much into the detail on stuff, but I'm just going to show you guys how I set up my um, base file and then get a quick show going so you can get to rendering. So here we go. So first thing I do is I open up a capture and it's going to open up on the project page here. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to fill out your information about your show. So project. Let's just call this show one. There we go. Location. Let's call it whatever. Project date. And then you could put all this information. So if there's a set designer, director, technical director, having all this information is pretty good because it relays this to people viewing the documents and kind of helps with organization. So I strongly recommend filling all this out. Um, the next thing that you're going to want to do is probably set up some of your views. So there's a couple tabs on here under the design tab, or these options here. You have project, selected items, views, layers, filters, fixture groups, camera positions, scenes, materials, gobos, friend lists, symbols, reports, plot styles, plots, all sorts. So I'll get into depth on each one of these as we go through. So the first thing I want to do is probably set up the views. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up so we can kind of see what we have going here. So each one of these columns is kind of representative of the alpha view, beta view, and gamma view. So when you would make those adjustments in there, it will affect that. Typically what I do is I always use alpha view is probably like my front, my gamma is my side, and then my beta is like top, and then I'll kind of switch between the beta or alpha being my live view. So in the settings here, you can change your field of view, your aspect ratio, white balance, hue clamp, bloom effect, laser, ambient lighting color, fill lighting adjustment, automatic exposure, and exposure adjustment manually. And then you can patch the camera itself so you can actually have control of the camera. So to start off, I'll do what I normally do. So I'll use my beta view as my live view. So I typically like to throw this up to like 75 degrees, and I'll throw the hue clamp all the way up to like 90 or 80. 88 is fine. Bloom effect, I'd like to throw that at 0.2. And then ambient lighting, maybe toss that up to like 4 or 5%. Fill lighting, yeah, that's fine for now. Automatic exposure, yes, that's fine. And then you want to make sure your exposure adjustments typically set to 0. And so with these settings, you'll get pretty decent live renderings, depending on, how good you set up your visualization settings. Typically, these are going to be set up as automatic and balanced. I have a bit of a better computer here, so I'm going to go ahead and favor quality. And then I like to display quality information so I know what's going on if my computer's chugging or having issues. If you have a lower end system, I suggest that you guys probably go for balanced or favor performance. You're going to get less good looking live rendering, but your computer probably won't struggle as hard. Then you can go in and really change things here, and so it always stays what it needs to. But automatic will automatically switch between the different quality levels based on how many lights you have turned on or how complex the scene is. I'll go ahead and close that. So that looks pretty good. So the next thing that's really important for really any lighting designer is the filters and layers. So at least when you're working with capture. One of the issues that I see a lot of times is there'll be guys who develop capture files and everything is on one layer and all the same color, or the filters just aren't set up. So when you have a complex lighting design or set design on here, it can get a little messy. So some of the things that you get with the layers here is you get the screen color, paper weight, paper color, paper solid color, and then your paper text color, paper priority, locked, unselected, included, fixture information, and fixture simulation. So usually everything gets dropped into one single layer here. And for simplicity, I'm just going to make a couple really easy, simple layers here. So the first one we'll do is fixtures. And then we'll do trussing, right? And I'll add another one. Let's call it venue. And then stage. And then I like to do, call it the band for right now. So what I like to do with fixtures or lights is I'll typically add more than just one. So why don't we do this? Let's make it how I do it normally. LX spots, and then you can go in there and actually duplicate that after you set it up, and it kind of reduces some of the amount of time to duplicate. So let's do wash, and beams, and then we can rename that to something different here. LX strobe. I mean, it's however you want to set it up. Um, my other file that I normally use, I have like 100+ layers into different things, from floor fixtures to top fixtures that are flown. Uh, my trusses are all divided up between floor and flown, or even band stuffed, or openers, things that kind of get peeled away if it's like a festival setting. So we'll go in here and get these set up here. So one thing I like to do is I will assign colors so you can kind of distinguish what's what. So everybody kind of has their own color scheme. But let's see, let's go with beams. Let's do purple. All right, now let's do that. That'll be all right. And then spots, I like to go pink. Strobes, let's go red for strobes. Wash, blue. So, and then truss, let's get that gray. Venue, just a light black. That's good. And then stage, probably a dark gray. Band, I'll make like something that's not very common. There we go. And then I'll change up the paper weights as needed as we go through making plots. So, and then what I also like to do is match the paper color. So go through. Close enough. Okay. So now we have some basic layers, which is fine. Beam, spot, strobes, wash. It's going to be awesome. All right. So I'll just minimize that back down. Now we have our layers here. So in your filters are based on when you have 100 some layers like I do, you're going to want to use a lot of filters. And filters are pretty nice because it just consists of you can lay them out as like LX for all your lights, or you can filter it out with just your video, or if you just have staging and rigging, you can put all that in, and it kind of just keeps things organized. Or if you have set pieces and band and backline in your design, you can go ahead and use your filters to pull that in and out from your plots or your view or whatever you're needing to do. So I'll just put LX here for now, and then how you get that going is you can select which layer is included inside of these filters. It's really helpful and very easy. And if you want to select more than one layer and turn them on and off, you can just hold down Shift, select the first one, Shift, down to the next one, and while you're holding Shift, click, and I'll turn it on and off. One thing to know too is when you have fixtures patched, even if you have the fixture patched and it's included, if its universe is unchecked, these are all representative of the universe that they're attached to, they will not show up, and that's been fun for me. So, what happened there? All right. Fixture groups. Fixture groups is one way. So there's a couple ways to make groups in Capture. What happens is if you create a couple fixtures, you can either go Control G to group them together. However, it does not apply them into fixture groups. But if you select those fixtures and you group them together, you can come back and grab groups of fixtures very easily. I know there's a little bit more to this. I haven't really messed with it, so maybe I'll look into it later. Camera positions. You can save camera positions here, which is great if you're trying to recall certain looks. I don't mess with this too much. I usually just patch my camera and then program the camera to the console that I'm using, and then get my looks from there when I'm doing previs. Scenes. Scenes are fun. They're very helpful when you're in a theater environment. So the scenes in the theater environment is if you have to bring in sets in and out, or um, you could even use it in a festival type design. So if you have different looks that need to be peeled away. The problem with scenes is you have to make sure that everything that you want included in the scene is checked. And uh, I found when you group things together, it messes with those settings. So you'll group stuff, and then all of a sudden they're not included in the scene. And when you go to move around in that, it can just get a real messy. Materials. Materials is going to be your best friend here with how you want things to look. Um, and get things looking as real as possible. As you import objects or add things, you're going to want to start building up your materials library here. Um, this is all your own materials that you can add, but there's also a materials library, which I'll get into, that has quite an extensive setup, which is really nice. So I like to make sure I assign a material to every object. That way you get the best rendering. Materials, you can go in there. And then the other thing with materials is this is where you'll add like video feeds and images or whatever. So we can get into that. Gobos, custom gobos, frame list, all stuff that you can add in that if you wanted to um, import custom gobos, say if you have a client that has a specific gobo that they want to see in the rendering, you can drop that in here. Or if there's a fixture that you know doesn't have something and you can make it. So symbols, this is where you can create custom symbols. Um, they come in as SVG files. Um, so you can make your own symbols. It's a bit of a tedious process, but Capture has a decent symbol library. And typically, if I have a fixture that doesn't have a good looking symbol, I will steal a symbol from another light that we don't commonly use and use that. And then you can scale it to get it close to what it needs to be. Reports, we'll get into reports. Reports basically where you list out documentation of patch, equipment, how much stuff you can get, weights and volt and loads and stuff like that. I'll put it into here. Plot styles is how you can kind of control the type of information that's being displayed inside your plots and on your views. And then of course plots, this is where you'll make all your documentation. So we'll get into all that. It'll be pretty nice. Okay, so I guess let's go ahead and start with making something simple here. Or you know what? Let's go and do the fixture tab. So the fixture tab is where all your fixtures that you drop into your capture file are going to be listed, and this is a good spot to kind of oversee what needs to be edited, or if you're missing information like unit numbers or channel number. Um, you can see its circuit or its patch and its modes and everything, and all this information will translate into the reports. Universes. Universes, this is where you can patch stuff and see what all your universes look like. Um, Beforehand, Capture used to have it as A, B, C, D down here. That was always a pain, but now they've made it to 1 through 16, which is great. You can add universes here, or you can change things, reset your levels, and get into your connectivity options to be able to connect to a console externally through SACN or ArtNet. Media, capture players, media players. This is where if you're sending like NDI or if you have some videos that you can import that you want to play on your design. Snapshots are pretty cool. You can take a snapshot of your project and bring it back in like a record DMX. So that's some stuff I've done in the past. And then of course library, which is the most powerful thing. So within the library, you have a couple things in here. They recently implemented the ability to download and it's the latest library um, internally instead of doing it through an installer. So it speeds up the process quite a bit, but this takes a little bit. If everybody all remembers how long it used to take to install Capture, now Capture installs quite fast, but you have to download the library. So I recommend doing this like once a month, but it takes about 20 minutes depending on your internet connection. Um, so things inside of the library, we have built-in dimensioning, snapping. You can look through all this stuff, and I won't really get too much into each individual one. They're all pretty self-explanatory, and they all have uh, a lot of settings within them. Um, Recent, so the last things you touched. Objects, which are great. So this is stuff that's built into Capture, so you can go and find some CD players or headphones. I don't know why you would really want to use that unless you're getting super detailed with your renderings. Um, Capture seems to have some stuff in here that I could see could be useful for certain people in theater, but uh, when I'm doing festivals and tours, a lot of this stuff is not really helpful. So, but you got your basic shapes here, which you can do a lot with, and then let's see, yeah, they got all kinds of fun stuff. Mainly, I like to grab the shapes, and then there's stages in here, show equipment, stuff like that. Scaffolding parts. Oh, the fun thing with scaffolding parts is if you start bringing that in, that's going to bog your file down quite a bit. All right, moving forward. So materials. That's the material library, like I said earlier. So you can bring in things to like metals, and this applies attributes to this materials. Say if you wanted to make your trussing black, I recommend using like black dirty, black rough. That's great on other things. And if you're building grass, you want a grass floor for a festival. There you go. It's all about presentation. Put as much time and detail into the little things, and your renders will come out looking amazing. Trussing. This is their truss library. So it's pretty easy to just type in and find something, and it'll pop up for you, and you can just grab it and drag it right into there. Um, and then you can kind of filter things out. So if there's not something in here that you are using, you can use a generic truss or just get something that's similar. You can even go as far as to email capture, and they'll make you something and put it in there, but you have to get them all the specs. And that goes with fixtures as well. Next one is fixtures, same thing. So you can look up things, and I'll show it in here. And they recently added the ability to have little photos here, which are great. And this is where you drag in and bring in those fixtures to your thing. And fixture symbol library. So if you don't like the fixture symbol, oh,
A few moments later.
so this is where all the fixtures library is here. And if you don't like the fixture symbol that's provided, you can always go into the fixture symbols here, find something, and grab it, drop it into that fixture, change it up just a little bit, and make it look nicer. Because the stock, when there's not a fixture symbol provided, they kind of look a little lame, to say the least. Uh, Symbols is where you actually have what is this? So symbols. This is where you can bring in other things that are not specific to fixtures. So connectivity stuff. So if you're trying to do some plots, to have some information on them. I mean, I don't use these too much, but they're helpful depending on what you're doing. The rigging stuff is probably the stuff I use the most. Filters, if you wanted to change out like the diacrylic glass type filters built into fixtures, or if you're applying a filter to a par 64 or some sort of conventional that needs an actual gel. So these basically are virtual gels. And yeah, I don't really use that too much. We don't see too much of that anymore. And then this is where the Gobo library for the fixtures are, and then so you can find specific gobos here if you don't like what's built into the fixture you're using. So kind of give you a rundown of the library. So not a whole lot. I guess I can go into the menu up here a little bit. Everything's kind of self-explanatory, and certain things open up based on what you have selected or not selected. Views, tools, is where you do your licensing. Um, Other options, connectivity, window. So you can you can open up each of the windows individually or independently, um, and your check for updates and capture information. So, all right, I'm gonna minimize this back down, and I guess I kind of start with like what I like to do. So, first things is I'll usually try to find some Tomcat truss and Tomcat truss. Let's go some 20 inch. 20 inch is great. So just for the sake of seeing everything, I'll open this a little bigger. So you get Tomcat 2020, but once you get familiar with their naming scheme, it's pretty fast to find things. So Tomcat 2020, that's a 20-inch truss, 120 inches, so core 20, it's a 10 foot. Uh, so I'll just select that. Where'd it go? That's almost better to just search for it. Oh, well, that's frustrating. Yeah, you can't really see what you're selecting. That's not really a fun thing. So now I gotta open this up bigger. Ridiculous. Oh, 120 beads. See, that's black, which is cool. So I guess what I can do is, so you can select and drag it into there. So usually I'll grab one thing that I want, and then I'll grab this. So once I drag something into here, I will go ahead and grab the duplicate button here, and it will snap. You see the little magnet there, and duplicate that again, duplicate that. All right, so right now I'm in my top view. There's the front, there's the right. Um, the little cloud is your haze. I typically like to get that out of the way and make it not um, automatic. So you turn off auto size, go no, and then that way it's just kind of out of the way. And then I'll just make its width like 100 feet, its height 50, it's fine, depth like 300 feet. Yep, and then that's a pretty good spot for it. So once I create, let's do like a 40-foot truss here. I'll go Control G to make it a group, and then you'll notice when you grab it, there's a line in the center here. So that's basically its center mark. So you can press enter and you'll open up the properties window. So the property windows is nice because then you can get to the geometry here, which will tell you its position X, Y, and Z coordinates, and then its rotation. Give you some information about it. You can change the color here, and then um, other stuff, plot annotations, and all sorts of fun stuff that we can get into later. So just to get me centered up, I'll just press 0 on here. I'll get it there, and then I'll bring this up to 22 feet. Let's go 30 feet. It's a downstage truss, right? And since we're a downstage truss, I like to use 0 coordinates as like the downstage center of the stage. So I'll go 3 feet off center, off the front of the stage. Speaking of the stage, let's make a stage. Um, however, I will add another truss here. So we just have a 2 truss system. And let's go negative 26 feet, 28 feet is typical. And then 28 feet high. So it's a little bit tiered. Yeah, let's go 26. There we go. Cool. Let's go to library. So for stages, you have 2 options. You either want to make a box or you can actually go into the stages and make a stage deck. Really depending on how much detail you want to put into it. I mean, for the purposes of simplicity and not bogging down the computer, I typically just go with a box. So I'll grab the box and then I'll put its position 0 and 0 to kind of get centered there. And then you're going to want to go down to your width. Let's make it a 40-foot wide stage. Its height 5 feet, depth 32. All right, and then you'll notice it's on dead center, so we don't want to do that. So we can either go in there and manually mess with stuff. So -16, and then I want this line to represent my 0 mark of the top of the deck. So bring that down to -2, -2.5. So there's our stage deck, and that'll kind of get us there. So the other thing too is save. You always want to save. So let's go ahead and just save. And I kind of have a muscle memory of saving every like 5 minutes. So Control S, just all the time. Capture doesn't have a thing that's built into it where it saves automatically. And there's a big debate online about why they don't do that. And Capture has their reasons, which I think it should save automatically. I don't know why it doesn't, you know, and maybe have at least some sort of backlog of saves, of backup saves. So if you need to go back, you can. But I'll put it this way. Personally, I've lost hours of work because of not saving, and then something crashes. And you will too. I can guarantee that. Um, okay, so now that we have our stage, let's go in and we have a stage layer. So let's go in there, select that stage, and then I press enter to get into the properties layer. Let's go ahead and set that as our stage layer. You'll notice it changed colors on the color. And then let's select the trussing. If you hold shift, you can select multiples. Let's make that layer truss. Now let's hang some fixtures. So go back to library, fixtures, and then let's do some GLPX5 since those are my new favorite wash light. So there's a couple ways to do this. You just grab them, drop them into there, and then they can snap. You see the little magnet icon right there? That means it's going to snap to that truss. So it's snapped up there. Um, so it's snapped up there. And then what I like to do is I will find its negative position and I'll go like -17 or let's do -18, right? That's probably good. And then I go Control D to duplicate. Actually, okay, so let me backtrack for 1 second. Select that. Let's assign it its layer, wash. So now we're a wash and it turned blue. Now let's go Control D and duplicate. For some reason, there's a weird glitch on the graphics for capture. I don't know why it scrunches that, but it doesn't. So let's do an X offset of 3 feet, and let's do 11 of them, and then duplicate. So that'll give us 12 across the front. You can do math and use duplicate to get it all spaced out correctly, but I don't like math, and so I just simply go to my end fixtures. So that's -18, This is going to be positive 18 because we're on this side of the line. I'll go 18 feet. That's there. Then I grab all the fixtures through the side view and I go Control V or Control Shift V, sorry. And that brings up your spread even menu. And I just go horizontal, or you gotta be in the window, horizontal. And then you'll notice that it just evenly distributed everything across there, which is great. You can also just go into the cog wheel here and go spread even. Great thing about Capture, it gives you all the hotkeys easily right here, so you can start building your muscle memory. Okay, so we got some of those, and then let's add some wash upstage. So typically, I'll just grab what I want and throw them there. So that's the same thing. And then let's say we don't want as many washes. So let's delete a couple, delete 4 of them. I delete the ones in the center, it doesn't matter. So we should have 8 upstage now. Oh, and bring that down to the right chord. Okay. Now that's snapped. Let's go in there. Negative 18. Okay. And this guy, 18. Select everything. Control V, horizontal. Oops, gotta be in that right. Control V, horizontal. Good. So now we have a nice little rig. Now you can also grab one light, go Control Shift T, and that grabs all the lights. And you can get some information about how many fixtures there are, your weight, total rating for kilowatts. Quick way to get counts as you're designing. And then also these widgets here, the camera widgets, if they're ever annoying and in your way, you can actually turn them off. All right, so let's grab some spots. So force 2. Some average force 2s. I'm just using the fixtures that we use in our lighting shop. So we'll get into all that later. So spots or profiles. I'll probably make another layer that says profiles. One thing you'll notice on these top views is there's this little nubby right here, and then this on most of the general geometry that they lay down in the wire view. Um, so typically this means that's where the power whip is, and then this means that's where the screen is. So just if you know how you want your fixtures oriented, you can do it that way. And if you want to orientate your fixtures differently, you can, when you have it selected, you have this pizza swedge right here. You can turn it that way and this way. If you hold down Shift, it will move in increments of 5 degrees, which makes it really easy. You also have another thing too, is if you have uh, a bunch of them, a bunch of lights in a group, you can grab the solid part of the pizza wedge to rotate the whole group or the whole selection, right? Or you can grab the clear side of the pizza wedge and rotate them individually, which is nice. And then Control Z to go back to whatever the last thing you're doing. So I just made 12 of these. Let's just split these up. So put those up there. Let's grab these guys, put them down here, and move that there. Negative 16, probably always going to put a nice spot. Okay, nice. And then you can grab them that way too. Uh, Another mention is selection. So if you take your selection box and you go this way and you only get half of something, it's not going to select anything. If you want to select some stuff in there, you have to get it all inside your selection box. However, if you go the other way, you'll see that it has the dashed lines. If you, whatever it's touching, it will select. So if I were to do that like that, it's going to select the stage, the truss, everything. So let's put this at, there we go. All right, so we got a spot and wash rig here, not too bad. Um, let's add one more fixture type, and let's make that blinders. So let's add another. Oops. All right, so let's go in here and find array two. There we go. I like these lights. Snap it to the downstage truss. Go to our side view, and we'll notice that it's hanging down. Don't really like that. In reality, I'm going to hang these off the top cord front facing. So I'll grab the light, I'll rotate it 90 degrees, and you'll notice there's some actual, like, more geometry of actually how the light's built in this one. That's probably a symbol thing, captures going through and adding more information, detailed information as fixtures get updated into their library. So, like, this looks pretty generic. They have these like generic shapes that they use in geometry for spots and washes. However, I'm noticing newer and newer fixtures that are coming out. They seem to be bringing in more detailed geometry. So we'll take that, we'll bring it up to there. It might not snap. That's fine. I'm going to put a ribbit there. I know this clamp is probably going to take up about an inch or so. So no biggie. Yep, it's not going to want to snap, so that's all right. So there's built-in snapping points on the trusses that are built into this capture, so may or may not work. Don't worry about it. All right, let's get this guy. Let's go -19, and let's duplicate this 7 times. Got my last one, and 19. Cool. Let's add some strobes. Atomic LED. Why not? Okay. Default layer. Strobes. So I don't usually like to have it red, um, because usually it's hard to tell if it's selected when it's red, if you have a lot of things. So I'm gonna go ahead and change that up just a little bit. Let's make strobes yellow. I personally usually use yellow for video, but actually that's gonna bother me if I leave it that way. What do I do strobes at? Oh geez. Um, I did do it red. I do it like a dark red. That's what I did. Maroon. So let's do maroon. That's a little better. So you can tell that it's selected now. All right. So let's bring that up to there. Let it snap. You'll notice that it snaps in a weird position. We're gonna face that outward. Bring it up to the top chord. That's probably about right. And duplicate that 3 times. And grab that guy. -14. Yeah, that works. And then this guy can be 14. So grab all those fixtures, select this view, Control V. There we go. Cool. So now we have a rig. Let's open up this beta view here. And then if you have a middle mouse button, if you're on a Windows, you can kind of hold down and move your mouse around to get a different look on things. You have different types of views that you can get into. So you can go into your views through here, wireframe, plot, live, custom. You can store camera views or go to specific cameras. So I usually use keyboard shortcuts. So Control 1 is top, 2 is front, 3 is right. And then Control W is wireframe, Control X or Control Shift X is your 3D view, which is also called custom view. So that's a good way to kind of see things in 3D. Um, Control C, I'm sorry, Control E. Control E is your paper view. So that's kind of where you get your plot looking like. You'll notice a lot of these symbols are the generic symbols, so we can go in there and fix those. And then they also have some extra information in there that we might not want that we'll have to kind of go through and clean up. I usually like my plots looking very plain and easy to read, and only information that the stage crew would need in order to do the setup. So typically patch, circuit, and fixture number. So we can get in there, and then go back to wireframe here. So let's close this out. Go back to front. There we go. So the next thing that you're probably going to do is to start patching and doing your fixture numbers. So in order to translate your plot information. So I like to, first thing I'll do is I'll go through the whole rig. If you didn't set up your first fixture, you can still go and double check everything. So I grab a fixture type and I go Control Shift T. That grabs everything of that type. Press Enter. I'm going to scroll down to mode, and I'm going to select the mode type on this. Let's go multipix. That's probably way too many. Basic color mode, RGB 24. Yeah, let's just do that, just for simplicity. Let's grab with all the spots, enter, 50 channel mode's fine. Let's grab these. Um, Straight arrays. 8 channel mode is fine. And the strobies. Let's grab those and set those up in 14 channel mode. And there we go. So not too shabby. So pretty easy basic lighting rig that's set up in all the modes. So the next thing we're going to do is let's do fixture numbers. So when translating fixtures over to like a console, you have different fields of information. And sometimes when you're exporting to either MA or AVO, uh, that information gets translated over differently. So let's go into a fixture here and I'll kind of give an example. So you have some stuff in here, unit number, and lots of people go in there and be like, okay, that's the unit number 101. That's fine and great, but that doesn't translate over when you're doing like a PSR to an MA file, or um, I don't really like the way that it looks in the plot view. So I'll typically leave unit number blank and not use it. However, what I do like to do is I'll go down to channel number here, and then I'll do that as 101. And channel information actually gets carried over to MA when you're doing a export. And there's a really good video that that other famous YouTuber guy, Mr. Jackson, does that will actually teach you a lot about that. So check that out. All right. So what I like to do is here we'll make this bigger right now, and then let's go over to our wireframe view or our paper view, and you'll notice that 101 because I did that first fixture there. So I'll do this. This is however you want to number your fixtures is up to you, but typically I'll do fixture type in a three digits based off in the hundreds of the fixture type. So I'm holding down shift and I'm selecting each one of these and I'm just clicking on each one, and you'll see why I made those other ones red or dark red. So that's all selected, and you'll go, oh, okay, how can I sequentially label these? So you go down to the cogwheel, sequential, channel. So you can do unit, but I do channel. And put that at 101, overlap zero, overlap of 1, gap of 0, assign channels. Bam. So now all of our spots now have information. Cool. And we can get into moving things around and making it a little so stuff isn't overlapping a little bit later. All right, let's grab these. Now keep in mind the way you grab these fixtures is affects your sequential order. So I'm grabbing all fixtures of the same type and making sure I'm doing it in the order that I want it actually done. So channel, since those are X5s, let's go 5 on 1. Yep. And then look to these guys. And you may find your own way of doing this, that's fine. Everybody has their own way of doing it, but my way's right. .201. Some people even go into here and under the fixtures tab, which is you'll see all this information that we're creating is getting dropped in. And we have like the atomics here. Some people will go through and do that, but that may not necessarily be the order that it's actually laid out in. But you could go in there and do 301, 302, you know. However, that may not be what you want to do. Yeah, so let's grab those. Sequential channel 301. All right, so we got our channel numbers in here, which are pretty nice, easy. Now the next thing that we want to do is probably patch. So when I'm doing patch, I pull up the universe tab here and I make sure I'm selected in the universe one. I kind of think of a game plan of how I'm going to do the patch on here, depending on how many universes I think are going to go to a truss or how it's going to be all divided up. And sometimes you don't know if this is going to take up 2 universes or one. So I like to just grab everything real fast, go sequential, go patch, and it's going to tell me how many channels are required. So obviously this is over 512, so this is going to be a 2 universe truss. I'll cancel that. And typically, however you wire your trusses or however you do it, it's up to you or your ME and uh, the limitations of your throughput on each of the fixtures. So, but in this case, I'm going to select my spots first on this side of the truss and make this my first universe. And then I'm going to select my washes. And then I'm going to go my blinders. And remember, the order of selection affects how it's going to get addressed. So you can do this one of two ways. You can go down here and go sequential patch, and it's going to say, hey, I have 326 channels required. Start address, where you go 1.1, fixtures per channel, one, yeah, all that stuff is great. All right, patch, bam, now everything's patched. We'll do the same thing on this side. However, I'm going to show you a different way to do it. So you can grab all those fixtures there. And if you're in the universe tab, you see this little duplicate button here. So normally you can use that to duplicate stuff. However, if you grab that and you drag it, hold on, we want to go in the universe 2 first. You drag that over to 1, you can actually patch. So it's universe 2 at 1, bam, there's all our fixtures patched. When I learned how to do that, that was a game changer. It made it a lot faster to address things, for at least for me. So let's see what upstage looks like. Grab everything, patch 560. Ooh, just too shy. All right, so that's going to be 2 universe rig as well. Let's select 3. And patch that to 3. And then we'll go down here. Go to 4. Yeah. All right, there we go. Don't forget to save. So now we have a whole rig patched and addressed. Um, let's clean up our plot and uh, make this actually look nice and readable. So first thing I kind of like to do is let's change out these symbols because these symbols are kind of crap. I don't like them. I don't like the stock symbols. They look like Crayola or a preschool. You know what I mean. So I'm going to go down here and find our symbol library. Oops, wrong tab. Fixture symbols. And typically I'll do.
A few moments later.
All right, so let's go ahead and clean this up a little bit and do some fixture symbols. So I'll typically look for something that I like. Let's see. So those are the force twos. I'll try to find something inside of Chevet already. We'll do the force one spots. So I don't know why they don't have a symbol already. So let's grab these, select all of them, and then you just literally drag the symbol over. And bam, looks good. And if it's not, if the symbol's like significantly smaller than the actual light, you can actually go into the fixture and just find symbol scale, and you can just go like 110%, and it just makes it a little bigger. So now let's grab these guys. Let's go to library. Go X4. It's probably going to be a cool looking symbol. So X4S. I bet you those are really small. Yeah. So yeah, super small. What else do we got? Yeah. So the X4S. So let's just go into those fixtures and let's bump up that symbol scale to like 200. There we go. That's about roughly the same size. And then you can always just swap over to go back and forth. So it might be a little too big. So 150. There we go. 150, not 150. There we go. Okay, cool. I'm okay with everything else. Those are fine. So just makes it look a little more professional. That's really all it, at least in my opinion. So there's a bunch of junk on here that I don't really like. So let's go and make a plot style. I like to make two plot styles. Clean, and then let's make another one and let's call it plot. So clean, I basically turn off everything. And then on plot, I keep focus on. I turn off gobos, optics, unit. I leave power location. I leave patch circuit and channel. I'll leave on, and then all this other stuff is fine there. And then the text size, that's 4 inches. Maybe it's not that one. It's symbol text size. That's what it is. So let's go 6 inches. Oh, I messed that up. Oh, you know why? Because I haven't applied the plot. There we go. So back to 4 inches. Then let's put this at 6 inches. There we go. That might be a little too big. So let's go 5 inches. There we go. It's readable. And then you'll notice that the only thing that's on here is all that. So personally, um, I like to have a name. I like to name my fixtures as well and have it visible, but I don't want it to be like super prominent. So the reason I left focus on there is I'll go through and I'll grab all the lights of that fixture type and I'll go down to focus, which is something that's not really used for anything, at least in my what I do. I mean, theater is probably going to use it to dictate what the fixture is being focused on if it's a conventional or something like that. So, but in my instance, I just do that, and it just drops the name above the fixture. this. And I like that because it's there. Uh, Another thing too is I like paper text color to be the same. So I really like everything to kind of just stay consistently the same across the board. And even I'll go into paper solid color and I will just do a pastel of whatever. And you'll see what that looks like. So really just the fixtures. And then let's like go blue, and then we'll just bring that down to like, then red, and we'll bring it down to like there, pink. And what I'm doing here is it's just making a fill. So just fill colors. And then when we go down to here, there we go. Everything has a nice fill. And you may or may not want to do that. That's perfectly fine. It's up to you if you want to do that or not. You can also change the paperweight colors here. Sometimes I like to make the truss a little bit thicker so it's easier to see. And now we have stuff overlapping, which is not a big deal. I just grab, so if you hold down Control and just select the labels, and then you have to break the link. I hold Shift to move them all together. I'll just bring them up above everything, right? And then bring this over, and then I try to be symmetrical. One thing I wish Capture would do is the ability to spread even and align these like they do fixtures. So unfortunately, you can't. You can mirror them, but you can't align or spread even for some reason. You can clear plot adjustment, which will reset them, but you got to make sure that your link is broken. So the thing with link here is linked is linked to the physical wire, the physical fixture, right? Unlinked is you can move the plot annotation around. So you notice if I move that, you'll see this ghost here. That means that is physically still there. Uh, However, if I link that and then move it, go back to wireframe, you'll see it's moved. So that's all that. It's okay that those are kind of up there. What I might end up doing is going back to our plot styles, symbol text, 3 inches. There we go. I like to make them real small, 2 inches. So it's there, but it's, somewhat readable. Focus. 3K LED. And that's hidden right there. So let's grab that. Just make it easy to read. Cool. I'll just go through and kind of move these around a little bit. That way they're not overlapping each other. Let's go to the bottom. These guys Then our focus and array 2. And just a little bigger so we can see what's going on here. Cool. There you go. So that's a pretty decent plot view right here. Now let's go make an actual plot. So you have all your information here. Next thing you want to do is you want to go to plot styles. We're going to add a plot. We'll just call this LX plot, and then I usually put a version number, .1, or 1 dot. And then you're going to go to edit. And well, that's going to have to get fixed. What we'll do here is actually add a to screen capture instead. Display capture. There we go. Okay. Oh, that's better. So page setup. What I like to do, portrait, Microsoft print, and I like to do tabloid. Set that up. Oops. Landscape, sorry. Tabloid. So that will print to a 11 by 16 or whatever. Um, so things in here, header template small. These are all like template stuff you can drop in here. Get some project information. You can set this up however you want. And then you want to view. Also, there's another setting in here. Properties. I think it's there's a way to show. Maybe not. Never mind. So you can make your view here. It's pretty simple. You can lay these out however you want. And then you can use this to zoom in and move around. So why don't we do this? Why don't we put this up to there? It's in the front. Okay. Project information. You can put a layer key in here if you want to. Symbol key is a big one too. So you can set these up however you want. And one thing with symbol keys, you have to go into it and refresh it anytime you make any changes. So there you go. Make that a little bigger. And if another thing too is this, you'll notice that this is taking not the plot style we built. So we want to create that and go plot. And now that looks better. Or you can go clean, and that's clean. So just go plot. And yeah, so got all your information, whatever you need here, and then you just export the PDF. And that's how you make a quick little biting plot. Pretty easy. Now, if you want to do visualization, what you can do now is there's two ways to do that. I'm not really set up to do it at this moment, but you would want to go into your universes, and once you're outputting SACN or ArtNet or MANet, that stuff should pop up under here. You're going to have to mess with your connectivity options to make sure you're in the same network stuff. Um, and then once that pops up, you can connect in and patch. I can get into that in another video. So once you're all connected up, then you can open up your screen here. You go Control R. That gives you your live view, and then you'll be able to open stuff up. However, turn off Project Link Console right now. What I can do is grab all this. I'm in my live view, and you'll notice there's a power button here. You click that, and that'll bring everything down. And you can focus stuff, and you can make some looks and do a screen capture, render image, and make some renders for our client, or however you want everything to kind of look. So come in and zoom that out. Grab all those. Oh, so yeah, we'll have to go in there and fix all that. No biggie. Oops. So there's our rig. We can fine tune adjustments here to make that less crazy. And then where's our strobes? Oh wow. And they are flashy. Turn that off. So there we go. There's a quick, easy lighting rig, and then you can render that out if you wanted to, and throw a band in there, throw some extra stuff, but you should be able to get connectivity and do some pre-programming with it and adjust it. But you have a plot. I also like to duplicate this and just call this plan. The great thing with capture is always think in terms of do the work once and then duplicate when you're coming across like layouts and consistent things like symbols or layers and plots and plans. So, like for instance, this, I'll change this to perspective, and it's my plan view or perspective view. And then you can mess with all the settings here. It's the best thing to do. Is just mess with everything. Mess with much stuff as you can to learn it and figure it out. And then export the PDF or print. Export the PDF I usually do first before printing. I'll print from Adobe or Chrome or something like that. And that way you have a little more control of how it actually gets printed. Um, yeah, that's really all I have. I'll make a couple more videos and get a little more in detailed. I will, if you guys have any questions, just leave something down in the comments and I'll try to answer them when I get a chance. So, thanks. Have a good one.